So in all 50 states, at the start of the case, you'll have monitored visits, which means a third party monitors the visits to make sure they're going healthy, that they're getting therapy, that the parents are maybe exhibiting healthy parenting skills so that they can get their child back. After that goes well for a period of time, the judge will say, okay, now we're going to go to unmonitored visits, which just means that parent is babysitting their own child for maybe 2 hours a week. Almost all other 49 states stop there and they say that's good enough. If you can babysit your child for 2 hours a week, you're ready to get them back full time as a parent. And, anyone who is a parent knows that that's not necessarily true. A 12-year-old can babysit a child for 2 hours, give them French fries and milkshakes. They're going to tell you they had a good time. But when you return a victim to the scene of the crime, there's secondary trauma that occurs. So what we do differently in California, which is what we proposed the other 49 states and territories implement, is what's called a home pass. And that just means that the child will stay at their mom or dad's place or their family member's place for the weekend while the case is still open. And that's to assure the child that it really is different this time. And it's also to give the birth parent an opportunity to experience parenting, dip their toe in without feeling so stressed out, because oftentimes they're struggling with their own addiction, which is a coping mechanism for stress.
2 of Jen Lilley's children came to her through the foster care system. This summer, she joined foster care expert Dr. John DeGarmo in Washington, D.C. The two pushed for federal and state reform for foster care reunification, a safer way to get kids back into the care of their parents. In a pandemic, higher stress levels are weighing on a lot of parents, so the actress is doing her part in Congress and on screen.
You are in North Carolina filming. Can
Yes.
you give us any idea of what you're filming?
It's a Hallmark Christmas movie, so it's everything you can expect out of a Hallmark Christmas movie. They have a very particular formula, so you can kind of guess it. But I'm excited on this one. I play a journalist, and she does very serious news stories and has just kind of been weighed down by the weight of the stories that she's writing, and she wants to write uplifting stories for a change. And she goes on a USS tour. It's called a Tiger ship cruise. Apparently this is something the Navy does with their family, and her dad was in the Navy, and she meets a Navy fighter pilot. So there you go. Who knows what will happen after that?
Can relate to wanting to do more uplifting stories for sure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking. It's lame for a grown man who loves snow globes.
Thinking it, yes, but I wasn't going to say it out loud.
Were you surprised at all when you first entered the Hallmark world? You've done a bunch of these movies now. Were you surprised by how much people hook on to these films, specifically the Christmas ones?
I was surprised by it. I think that's completely fair to say. And I was also surprised in the most wonderful way that Hallmark Channel is who they say they are behind camera as well. It's not just, it's a through and through brand, and it represents who they are behind the scenes too. And that was really refreshing for me as an actress. And I think it's exciting that they're doing 40 new Christmas movies. I mean, they've done that for the past several years, which is such a huge undertaking. But the fact they're doing it during a pandemic is really amazing. And I think it's going to be their most successful year yet, because I think even I myself, sometimes I don't always watch movies where I can guess what will happen, because I want to, maybe be surprised. But if there has ever been a time where I have just wanted Hallmark and only Hallmark, it's 2020. And I think most people can relate.
40 new movies, despite the fact that in March, film production everywhere came to a halt. Lilley says the sets are a lot different, and movies that typically take just 3 weeks to film are now taking a little longer.
I had a COVID test, the brain tickler, last week in Los Angeles, and then at least minimum 3 times a week I have to go to COVID test. So I had one this morning, but I'm very happy to report that it was just a nasal swab. So, I didn't have to cry, involuntarily. You just, yeah. So we have a lot of protocol. Our meals are prepackaged. Everybody's 6 feet apart. My understanding is that it's also kind of a skeleton crew. So it should be very different, but I'm sure the morale on set is going to be really high as usual.